then now, just going back, like, how do they even know that I'm watching it versus my wife when we're logged in the same account?
Yep.
And
So they get it wrong.
yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's why we have 2 different accounts in the household.
So, but how does it even get smarter beyond that, right? So, like, or even like, maybe I'm like, one time I was looking for a place to rent in Singapore, and then I go onto Facebook and it already shows me those ads already
Because
instantly.
you got on
right?
that site, they dropped a cookie on you.
Yeah, exactly.
That cookie is tied to your Facebook identifier. So they know anytime you log into Facebook, but be it on your mobile phone or your computer, you have a connection. That identity is set, and then now that advertiser is going to bid on you to show you that ad for that listing.
Yeah.
So in 99Co in Singapore, they just launched their, I think yesterday, the day before, their own self-service tool for brokers to say, if someone looked at my listing, I want to sell, I'm going to log in as a broker, real estate broker, sorry, right, and pay for ads. I'm just going to put my credit card in, pay $50, and I want to make sure they're always seeing that apartment in Novena.
Right.
So it just stays top in mind.
Right.
And you're like, I'm really interested in the Novena apartment. So that's the free will to going back full circle, right?
Right.
That's the where we're entering.
Yeah. Oh, but what about like but I could buy something, right? And they show me the same thing on.
Yeah.
on,
So that's
on
bad
that
advertising.
Yeah. So like,
because it's hard to know when you actually go to the store.
Right.
The only ones that really can do it is like Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. They'll know if you go pick it up.
Yeah.
Or if you
actually purchased it.
So then they stop. Right? They can do. We call it attribution. Have you bought it or not?
Right.
And sometimes a lot of people get it wrong.
Right.
So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
But would you want them to know sometimes? No. Or like if you use your loyalty card at Watson, right? Then they know. And so there's ways you can get very clever. With this. You have a Kohl's in the U.S. The Kohl's in Australia, right? They personalize their shopper the coupons they send to you in the mail based off, or they used to do. I'm sorry, I could be wrong about this. Based on what you purchased. Right. So if you're buying milk this time, make sure you get that coupon for milk. And then when you go in and when you go to the physical store, you're putting your card in front of it. And they're able to match it back to what they've sent you. Yeah. So it's all about that attribution loop.
Right. And how's that even getting better? Like, I mean, how do you actually, program it to make it even smarter and smarter? I mean,
and that's what the machine learning is doing, right? So every time there's a new signal, in simple terms, right? It's learning that behavior. And so, like, if you were looking at a car online, you then go to the BMW dealership. You have your mobile phone with you. Your mobile phone knows you're in the longitude, latitude of a car dealership. That's a signal. Yeah. And so they can maybe take credit for that. Right. Or your phone might be able to hear some audio background noise in the car dealership. Right. There's a company that's doing this now. Right. And they're able to hear, and you can't hear it by your physical ears. Right. But it's a signal that says, oh, you've seen this ad. You've also now been to the car dealership. Damn. And try and close that loop. Right. But it also, like, I mean, I'm going to state the obvious, but it does freak me out. Oh, yeah, right? I know, but when I say it out loud, it does. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, that's what's happening in reality, right? And it's kind of freaky at the same time because, great. If it's well-intended, great. If it's serendipitous, you good advertising you don't know happened. Right? You didn't realize why. Like, why do we make the decision we make? Yeah. They're unconscious. They're emotional decisions. Yeah. And that's all. Like, why am I going to buy that apartment in Novena? Yeah. I may not even realize that's what's happening. Right. But I've seen that same listing 5 times. And you're like, oh shit, it's in high demand. I need to act fast. I mean, whatever, right? So we make illogical decisions, but no one likes being pried on. Right. To what I think what you're saying, right? Yeah. So that's because fine. If they're showing me stuff that I really like, and that's fine. But like if they're starting to show me stuff that I don't really care about, obviously, that's bad advertising, right? And then you feel like you're being followed and. Yeah, exactly, and get all these negative emotions. But if it's always like precise, and it was like, God damn, thank you. It's a balance. It's an art, right? So you can get really creepy. Right. Target, for example, if you read some literature, they were in the U.S. They were able to figure out a woman was pregnant in her household before she told anyone, because she started buying certain types of creams and moisturizer. Right. And started sending coupons to the household. Right. And then the father of the house, his teenage daughter was pregnant, got really upset and angry. And then complained, and then found out that his daughter was actually indeed pregnant. Yeah, so you can get there's balances to all of this, right? It's good advertisers, good agencies are run by people. Right. People should know what to do with the technologies, and that's what I as a somewhat optimist. Right. I believe that we can course correct. Yeah. Because to your point, it can get very. The thing is,
I don't mind great advertising, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody does, but like, but the thing is, I guess that all that data is like centralized in, your duopolies, right? Or wherever.
A
like
large
someone-
percentage
yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
And other players, yeah.
Yes. And that's what I always had a problem with, right? And it's not about like having like 3 or 4 more companies that or everything to me should be, in my sense, owned by, not owned by any centralized organization, right? That's the
belief of the company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where I come from. Is like, I want that to be decentralized, right? Like, I want it to be somewhere else that is not owned by Google, fucking Facebook, and they know everything that I do, right? That's the part that
Or
fucking
will
scares
do,
me.
or potentially do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who knows, right? Because these companies are not, they're not accountable to anybody to what they do, right?
I mean,
Except for the
they get
shareholders.
fined, they get government. But
Yeah,
it's
but whatever.
probably
It's a slap in the wrist, right? I mean, they don't give a shit. I mean, it's like, this is cost of business, running a business, and they keep going, right? And that's what the problem is that all these companies have no accountability whatsoever, and then one day somebody could just go and then turn the dial up, right, and then use it for something else, right? And
I mean,
that's what
technology always has unintended consequences,
Yes.
and then that's a challenge, right?
Right.
You saw what happened in New Zealand, stuff. That's unintended consequences, but it's probably predictable if someone would do something terrible and live stream it.
Yeah.
It is sad about it, but that's also I don't think we can go to that world, your world,
Yeah.
where I'm gonna have a profile and it's a bank of some sorts,
Yeah.
and then I can scrub it.
Right.
I'd like to maybe, but I think it's too hard.
Right.
There's too many people in the world.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Of course. But I mean,
But people should have the choice.
Yeah,
if to your
exactly.
point.
Yeah, and I think that's what the governments need to focus on a lot more, right? Because it's not just about the privacy of the data, because that's important, but like it's more about the concentration of that power. And as we just said before, governments love that concentration of power to themselves, but they don't like it on someone else.
Well,
but
I mean, that's why they're not very bullish on bitcoins and everything else. Right?
Yeah.
It's a threat to the institutions.
Yes, it's true, but it's a democratic voice, right? And saying that it shouldn't be centralized in some place, and then it should be free. And I think our data should be free as well, right? And how can the world be a little bit aligned with that concept?
I mean, they need to understand the basics, and unfortunately, my industry is very hard from an outsider to immediately grasp. They see, they live through it, they see what they're shopping for, follow them around.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe they don't understand the full mechanisms of how it happens.
Right.
And we hide behind acronyms and technologies and
Sure.
and platforms and stuff. We make it very obsure in some respects. I think it would serve the greater good if everyone could digest this a little bit, and make it more digestible. Because then people can think about policies that are fair. Because the ones who are actually really suffering are the publishers, the people who create content, the journalists.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone else is thriving.
Yeah.
But they're the ones with revenues. They're the ones who are going out of business. That's why you see newspapers shutting down. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And without good journalism, without that's a real challenge.
Yeah, and especially with all this fake news that's going around as
and
well.
And they're incentivized because the pipings exist for exploitation, right? Versus someone who's creating good content. And it's very hard for an algorithm to know that this is a fake news site because it has the word news in it.
Yeah.
But it's not real news, right?
Right.
How does it know that's WSJ is more authentic? And now the algorithms are learning this. So again, technology problems are being solved by technology, but I don't know to what end.
And how do you think the Facebooks and the Googles can do better to protect us in receiving these fake news? Or they always say they change their algorithms, but we don't even know what the fuck they're doing.
They should be more
right?
Transparent, right? What are the changes, right?
Exactly.
If you're a private company providing it's a public service information, right, in news, but their position is that they're not media companies, so they're not accountable the same way that we would hold New York Times to. But they are. And so people can argue the other way. They are media companies because that's where you get all your media. So that they're able to be on both sides. It's just being more transparent. I think that's it. But
do you see them actually going towards that direction?
I think there's enough unbelief in firestorms and people like if they don't do it, someone will make them do it, right?
Right.
To some level, degree they may not want to do.
Right.
So if you're more proactive with your legislation, like any other industry, right, the better off you are.
Yeah.
Versus someone independent arbitrarily deciding this.
Right.
Right. So.
I mean, you know, because if they don't, I mean, and then Facebook is like kind of trying to come out with their own like cryptocurrency, and I mean,
Yeah. So what is that? Can you explain that to me? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, so from my read from all that is that yes,
Libra, right, or something like that?
Libra. It's called Libra, and it's not that Facebook solely owns this currency, right? But what they own is the touch point of the, so all the financial transactions that are going to happen on Libra is going to be owned by Facebook subsidiary. But the cryptocurrency itself, the network itself, is going to be run by.
So if I use this to go to the grocery store, they know I go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I spent $100.
Yeah, exactly.
Then now you know why.
Yeah.
Because it makes their advertising much
Yeah,
more better.
exactly. Yes. Everything feeds into that.
I buy
right?
milk.
Yeah, and
And
so,
wine.
So not only they have our personal data, they're going to have financial data as well, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. Going back to the cryptocurrency, so the network itself is going to be decentralized.
Yep.
You know, so but it's all generally, you know, American centric, a little bit of European and Canadian companies in there, but you know, generally a lot of like. Your companies that I've heard of, like Uber and MasterCard, Visa, and all those guys are in
They'll
there.
accept it,
and,
yep.
Yeah, and then if you pay a certain fee, then you can join the network and all that. But that's not really the business angle for this, right?
It's what we've been discussing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what troubles me, right? And you know, while there should be
Maybe that should be an opt-out.
Yeah.
If you use it or something like that, or an opt-in. Like if things are more opt-in versus opt-out, more people would be caring about it, and that's why like. You know, GDPR in Europe is when you go to a website, they have to make it in very clean language that a normal person, not me who spends my life thinking about this, understands that they're going to be targeted potentially, and this data will be used by this company for this end, and that's when you get that pop up.
Yeah.
When you go to, or they don't track anything at all. They're like,
yeah,
it's fine.
no, it should be like a cigarette box now, right? It shows you like a corroding
Data collecting.
corroding lung, and then you know like some skull on it saying you're gonna die if you smoke this thing, right? It should be almost the same, where it said I'm gonna collect your data, boom, and then you go with your terms and conditions, whatever. But you know that's the part that need to do much better, you know, and I don't see that. They still want to keep it in small, you know, fonts, you know, put it in the back and then hide that shit, right?
And
so
300 pages.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody's fucking. They know that nobody's gonna read that, right? Yeah. So I think that's where
the law in Europe was at least that first step of saying it has to be understandable.
Right. Yeah.
Whether the person reading understands it, that's
yeah. Well, that's their fault, right? It's the same as the smokers as well. Like you're gonna die from smoking this stuff, but you still smoke.
I think this would be the most pivotal issue if you really want to go down to the next 10 years.
Yeah.
In one shape or form. What is this? That is like why?
Yeah.
But unless you understand the reasons behind it, and you were able to really astutely say, if I know how much someone's spending at somewhere, that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, your credit card companies have always been in some way selling your data to third parties, right? That's their nature. But you know, whoever has that new data is bypassing that, right? So they become even more important.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. No.
Future Design Podcast.